I was 13 when I had my tonsils taken out, and I lost quite a lot of weight and got down to about 6 stone. And then I found out that my mum had cancer. I think all the stress got a bit much and I just sort of lost my appetite to begin with, but then it developed into something mental and I had a big issue with putting on weight. My sister snitched on me when I was at school and I wasn't eating, so she came home and told my parents and they took me to the GP. He seemed to take it quite seriously.
Our GP decided that there should be a referral to CAMHS, and the initial meeting was with a psychiatrist.
From the moment that we get a referral, we take it very seriously. The majority of cases come through the outpatient route. A community team consists of a number of different professionals, including psychiatrists, myself, psychologists, family therapists. We may have an occupational therapist, nursing input and psychotherapies.
I went to CAMHS for an appointment with my parents and I met up with a psychiatrist who was trying to suss me out. I found it all quite surreal that people were actually getting worried about me for something that I didn't think was an issue.
We didn't understand what was happening to our daughter or why it was happening. The psychiatrist took a view that there was going to need to be professional input.
We would like the family to take on board, obviously, the severity, the seriousness of what's going on for their child, and think with them about how they can start to take on the role of refeeding. It'll be parents preparing foods, sitting down all together at mealtime and trying not to get into negotiating around, can I have this or this? But what we support the parents with is sitting there and being able to kind of hold that position at meal times of, actually, this is what we've prepared and this is what you need to eat in order to get better. That's our goal, really, is to get the weight up, but also address underlying psychological issues, any difficulties a young person might be having in their life, any issues with self-esteem, anything they might be struggling with, to help them understand what role the eating disorder had in their life. What can happen and what tends to happen is that there can be a lot of tension between the parents and the child when the parents wanting the young person to eat. That is part of what we help in the family work, is thinking about what situations that does arise in.
It was decided that family therapy would be the most effective form of input to improve the situation.
The kind of young people that I would see, somehow something's kicked in to their thinking. That could be a young person starting to diet and that diet getting out of control. And then because of their physiology, brain chemistry, people's thinking becomes distorted around food and their perception and body shape, and a parent is providing a plate of food and the young person is seeing that as an enormous mountain.
I thought that they were just going to say, she's fine, you can go home, all done here. But no, it kind of evolved into this commitment to having to go to CAMHS twice a week, because I had an appointment every week with my personal worker lady to try and rationalise what was going on in my head. But then also we went to family therapy as well.
When families come to a family therapy session, they find that there's a one-way screen, and that's because on the other side of the screen we've got a team of people.
I get home at 2, 3 in the morning, it's difficult.
And family therapy takes an approach which is really a few people's heads and thinking are better than one. There's no one way of doing things.
Had some raspberries.
If people don't like the screen, then some of the team members can be in the room. So there's a flexibility of approach, because what we're after is finding the most helpful fit, really, rather than imposing a particular model. Each individual is a unique individual. Each family But at the same time, I like to think that we do offer some helpful structures in which people can operate in, so useful advice.
My family therapist kind of got me 100%. He seems to change his tactics to fit us. So it's like we had our own language, which he understood, which was frustrating because it meant I couldn't get around him so easily. But yeah, no, in the end he proved to be really, really helpful for I think both me and my dad.
The role of family therapy is to help people recognise that there's no blame attached to anybody in the family, and it's more important to focus on the positive way forward and the good and positive recovery.
It is, I think, really, really useful to separate out the illness from the person and to understand that you are not in a conflict with your son, daughter. You're in a conflict with the mental ill health that they're suffering.
I literally just was in my own little world. My psychiatrist was like, oh, parents, don't let her go to school if she doesn't eat her breakfast, which obviously when you say that it sounds quite easy, but in reality when I'm there climbing out of my bedroom window onto a roof to escape, it's not really that easy. I did rebel quite a lot against that. It went on for quite a long time. I ended up having 2 hospital admissions to Riverside Adolescent Unit, so I ended up there for 5 months each time.
The unit is a 10-bed inpatient and 12-bed day patient hospital where young people are referred for treatment if the community CAMHS teams find that their presentations are not responding to their treatments or are too risky, too complex or too severe. So this is one of the bedrooms. All the rooms are en suite and young people sort of move things in and out as they need them from home, and we encourage them to make it their own. Only a small proportion of young people who struggle with eating difficulties actually find their way to Riverside, and we work very hard and intensively with the young person and their family, which is, I think, a really important part of the programme. And sometimes very slowly, but almost always, there are steady improvements.
I think it was after the second admission I kind of stopped sort of spinning a story of, oh yes, I'm fine, and pretending to engage with what was going on, and I actually started to listen to what they were saying. And I think from that point was where I started getting better, because instead of fighting everyone, I sort of opened my mind a bit.
Almost every family that comes to the Riverside Adolescent Unit will go into family therapy, and that's quite intensive, slightly more intensive than in the community. We also have lots of what we call psychoeducation, where we talk to young people and their families about the sort of changes that they need to make just in the nuts and bolts, I suppose, of eating. We then support young people to begin eating at home by doing practice meals with families here on the unit to feed back and notice things that might get in the way of a young person's recovery as they're moving on from being here with us.
Another person that helped was actually someone from Riverside, a staff nurse. He definitely lived life and had loads of experiences that he could draw on. He took me out to go screaming one time. He realised that I was quite sort of het up and had had a difficult meal. And he took me out into the back, into the fields, and just said, right, scream. And of course I felt absolutely ridiculous doing it, but afterwards I felt so much better. So I think there are quite a lot of people that you meet that really do care, and they want to hear what happens to you afterwards, which is quite nice. Now I'm about to go to university and I feel better in myself, and I can't really believe that I actually went through all of that, but if you stick with it and manage to get better, then there is just so much ahead of you to look forward to, and I can see that now because I've stuck with it and I've got the help, and I'm back on my own 2 feet.
Dad, it's ready.
It's not easy, but I'm doing it.
It's only actually when we got to the end of the journey that we actually appreciated how useful the therapy had been. The services saved my daughter's life, and I will be forever grateful to them for that. It wasn't perfect, but along that journey, every person that we came into contact with wanted our daughter to get better. She's rebuilding her life, and I am very, very, very proud of her.